Hi everyone, I'm Airier, and today we're going to be checking out Overly Sarcastic Productions' next Pope fight, specifically History Summarized Pope Fights 2, the Reformation. Ooh, the Reformation. You know, it would be really nice if I read the titles because I actually know this part. Yeah, this is Martin Luther. I know about nailing something to a door. I just realized that's literally all I know. Huh. That moment where you realize you know much less about something than you think. On the other hand, that means I now get to avoid spoilers? Technically, that's accurate. It's just weird that history itself is the spoiler in this case for an online YouTube series. This feels weird. But not weird enough to stop me, so we're going to do the usual thing. Check it out. You guys know the deal. There's a link below to the original video. Hit it up. It's Overly Sarcastic Productions. It's good. I know that in advance. I'm going to enjoy this because I'm easily amused, and these are really good videos. I know. I'm looking forward to this. Who'd have thought? Again, check out the video, and let's get started.
When we use the term Christianity, it's tempting to think of one cohesive religious body working together to bring the world into a holy brotherhood of man. But the reality is sometimes more like a Voltron of different denominations begrudgingly joined together, vaguely.
You know, I will admit this. This is the first time I've ever heard any religion be described as Voltron. And I absolutely love it because it's ridiculous, and this is amazing.
Attempting to kick at its own shins and punch itself in the face. You've got the Eastern Orthodox Church holding over from the Byzantine Empire, the Catholic Church continuing the tradition of St. Peter, but somewhere between the Crusades and now, we also got Lutherans, Calvinists, Anglicans, Episcopalians who are like Anglicans but not English, and guys, you're killing me here. So,
and I know there's even more than that.
From point A through point C through P-4.
Oh, they actually graphed this out. So early Christianity, Council of, I'm not going to be able to say that, not going to be able to say that. Great Schism, 11th. And then there's Eastern Orthodox and the Catholic Church, wait, Western Rites? And the Union of, wait, what? So there's a Catholic Church, Western and Eastern branch, which are still going on, but they're both the Catholic and not the Greek Orthodox. Or the Oriental Orthodox, which I can't even read that name, in the Assyrian Church. Okay, that one I've at least heard of. But they also reunified in the Eastern one? What? When did that even happen? That was the 16th century right there. And then there's the Restorationism. Oh, that must be during the Okay. Yeah, the Renaissance probably. Yeah. And then if you get into things currently where there's like 1,000 different cults, if you went right here at the current time period, it would go even further. But those are usually just grifters who decide, yeah, Jesus wants you to make money, so if you give me money, you're doing the right thing. Also, that's actually a thing people do, and it works, and people make money. It's annoying.
4.5, I'll spin you a yarn of the 15 and 1600s, the centuries of the Protestant Reformation and the Catholic Counter-Reformation. So get ready to do some history on tonight's Pope Fights! Our first event pits the Vatican against literally itself as corruption dominated the church at the turn of the 16th century. The Borgia Pope
Oh, we're doing the Borgias. This I only know due to, oddly enough, Assassin's Creed. Huh. Getting history from that video game series, if anything. Good on you, Ubisoft? Yeah, I know, I feel dirty saying that too.
Alexander VI had sullied the papacy with what I can only describe as an orgy of orgies. And it didn't help that he also sent his manic son Cesare to try and conquer Italy for the Papal States, the Pope's territorial holdings around Rome. In 1506, Pope Julius II began work on the new Basilica of St. Peter, as well as the fresco ceiling of the Sistine Chapel.
So he's the one who started
that. By the sale of indulgences. These bad boys were the get-out-of-purgatory free cards church officials sold for upwards of half a year's wages, essentially buying your way into heaven. His successor, Leo X, wasn't exactly a beacon of integrity either, so the church of the early 1500s is really not looking its best. If I had to chalk it up, I'd say Catholic Church 0, lessons learned from the last Pope fights, also 0.
So they literally just did the same thing all over again because it's the same corruption all over again and no one learned their lessons. That's not even surprising. There's a joke in there about somewhere like, Italians doing something about illegal activities. I have no idea what that joke would be. Please don't break my legs.
Now, even before this, centuries of faithful Christians had been voicing their concerns about the way the church works, including our boy Dante, addressing persistent issues of divine accessibility and institutional corruption. Fast forward to 1517, and a German monk named Martin Luther posted a Twitter rant the old-fashioned way by nailing it to the door of the local church. Little did he know that things would escalate inconceivably quickly from this point on. What started
I mean, to be fair, anything quickly in this time period is weird, so he probably made the right assumption. Just didn't turn out that way.
With, hey, I'm pretty sure that the sale of indulgences is total bullcrap, became only our faith can save us, which then became, and the church can't.
Martin Luther. Furthermore, greed is one of the 7 deadly sins for a reason, guys. I mean, yeah. And eventually, after getting called out enough, the church did get rid of it. But they didn't do it right away. It's like people getting money don't want to get rid of an income source. Who would have thought?
Can't save you, and then that became, oh, by the way, the Pope isn't infallible, and in fact, they and the entire—
Oh God, they literally are religious loot boxes. I hate everything about this because it makes perfect sense. I just, why? Blue, why are you doing this? Why? This actually causes pain. Oh, that's like, congratulations, you get your surprise. Do you get out of jail free? I don't know, but you go to heaven for free now, and just make sure not actually free. Pay up.
Entire clergy make mistakes all the time, and finally became, you know what? No. The priesthood is meaningless. Nobody is any more holy than anybody else.
I mean,
it's like every time Martin Luther sits down, he gets another idea, takes a shot, runs back up to the microphone and shouts, and another thing. And honestly, in 1517, you can't really blame him. What started with the 95 Theses as a call to stop the sale of indulgences very quickly transformed into him calling for a complete reconstruction of the church and its priorities. So for our next fight, we
and it did eventually happen.
Tradition and the most powerful bureaucracy in European history against one hat boy.
The hat boy wins.
The Holy Roman Emperor of Germany.
I'm sorry, I want to see that again. The most powerful institution on earth. They did like to say that. Granted, they were usually fighting themselves, it seems, so they were also literally the biggest detractors from said institution.
Against one hat boy. When Charles V, the Holy Roman Emperor of Germany and Spain, called for Martin Luther to make his case in the hopes of humiliating him, he doubled down on all of his reformist claims. A bold move. After that, the madman tripled down, hiding away in a castle to work on a fully German translation of the Bible, which he then distributed for cheap through the newfangled printing press.
Oh yeah, because at this time period, they didn't have any Bibles except in Latin, and they made a point that the only people who really learned that were the ones who were getting their lessons specifically through them, or were priests coming up in it to control the message, so you only got the message the people in power wanted. And since the problem now and the problem then is the same, nobody fucking reads, it didn't matter. Granted, then it's because nobody could. Now it's because nobody chooses to. That last part still causes me pain.
This allowed thousands of ordinary people to bypass the gatekeeping of priests and get in with the OG. Now, as far as opening up religion to the German masses goes, this was a runaway success, except it didn't quite have the desired effect overall. Far from getting the church in Rome to change its ways, they seemed to be stubbornly staying their course, and the Bible's new readers developed wildly different headcanons about the road to divine salvation. Rather than demanding reform in a unified voice, these splintered out into dozens of directions, each accusing the others of being obviously entirely wrong and super going to hell. Guess times don't really change all that much. But
I also might have opinions on this. Oh god. Yeah. Wow, this is shocking. Suddenly, people having access to a great source of information, developing wild viewpoints, some of which seem stupid, but others which don't, and no one seems to get along with what their ideas are. I'm sure there's nothing in the last, this century that would in any way, shape, or form look like this. Also, have I deleted my Facebook account yet? I probably should get on that.
But also, this really shouldn't have been a surprise. It's because of the radical democratization of knowledge that everyone was free to make their own interpretation. So the consistent theme of spirituality is up to you was essentially destined to diverge on the details. For instance,
I'm sorry, I want to see that again. It was at this moment he knew.
Spirituality is up to you was essentially destined to
he fucked up. Come on, we all know exactly what should have been there. I'm fixing it.
Diverge on the details. For instance, Germany saw a 300,000 strong peasant revolt in 1525 arguing along Luther's ideas, but instead they demanded political freedom from serfdom, storming several churches in the process. Luther thought that this was distinctly uncool as his beef was spiritual, not political. But we're dealing with Renaissance Europe here, so separating those two is like telling an alcoholic priest to stop hogging the blood of Christ. They're not coming apart. In other...
I'm sorry, that's a real painting? That is a real painting. You know, I don't usually like Renaissance art because it's just not a style I prefer. I'm much more into the Impressionism. I like the stroke images itself. But just that tiny little whine. He's like, hello, Father. Thank you for this bounty. Yes. It's just like that smug little smile. It's ridiculous. And it's definitely not meant as something. It is both like, oh, see, the old man with the cane. But at the same time, it's the old man with the cane who's smug as fuck.
Art. In other smashy business, young Protestants in Germany and Switzerland took to heart what the Bible said about avoiding graven images, so they dashed the artwork and whitewashed local churches to avoid any distractions between people and God.
Although at this point, I should point out, because I don't think he's mentioned it yet, there was also a theory around this time period that every single surface had to be covered. If you had any open space, it was the devil's work. I personally have seen that style, and it looks like you're having a seizure. Yeah, you look at it long enough, and you feel like you're having a seizure, which honestly might explain a few people's religious experiences in there, because they looked like it, or looked at it, and then they had a seizure. They're very busy, let's go with that word. Very impressive, very well detailed, very well done. But damn, if it isn't really hard to go in there and not feel like you're being visually overloaded on a level you didn't know was possible until you ran into it. Nobody does that style anymore in that way, and mostly because it took a long time. They're very impressive to see once with medication. So they're going from a complete opposite to this one. Although I thought that was more of a Mediterranean style, so I'm not sure if this area would have had nearly as much of it.
In the following centuries, Protestant art became increasingly secular, with landscapes, portraits, still life, and historical paintings taking over from the highly religious art of the Renaissance that they saw as borderline blasphemous to depict.
Yeah.
A major exception is the work of Dutch painters like Rembrandt, who covered religious topics but through a strictly historical lens. Instead of paintings, for the most part, Protestants were waging their ideological campaigns through books. Like a bunch of nerds. While Pope Leo...
Also, I should point out one of the things he hasn't touched on is that the reason a lot of things were done in art as a religious reason is because they were not allowed to do it otherwise. Partially because there was no money to do it otherwise, because, take a guess, the people selling indulgences had money, and that let them do things like get these giant pieces of art. Also, if you tried to do art that wasn't religious, there were a lot of punishments possible. Some were excommunication, some were excommunication from having a head. It really did vary on how much you pissed someone off, or were able to bribe them.
Wrote off this Martin Luther guy as a local problem, it would swiftly become clear that the Reformation was much bigger than one hammer-happy German priest. It's one thing when some random monk says, screw the church, I'll do it myself, but what about when a king says it? In 1525, Albert founded the Duchy of Prussia as the first explicitly Protestant state, which came with the added benefit of...
Wait, that's where Prussia started. It's not the biggest state in Europe, but hey, total spiritual autonomy. Prussia state established in 1525. God damn, that's a 500-year state. Because I know that one ended in World War II. Sorry, one, and then it splintered off into various states. But that was a major empire that existed for a very long time. And this is when they started? Because Luther gave them ideas? Sorry, this is a bit of history I never even knew, and it's actually kind of fascinating.
You get to take the church's stuff and land and also not pay any taxes to Rome. It's a pretty good deal, all things considered. Yeah. In England, Henry VIII was the second king to break with Catholicism, founding the Anglican Church so that he could divorce his wife.
Again, and again,
lots
and again.
Of them. While would-be kings...
Yeah, I actually know a good bit about Henry VIII. He's, yeah. He made divorce legal so he could stop killing women to get rid of them. And if that sentence doesn't tell you all you need to know about how fucked up that was, he isn't actually regarded as the worst English monarch. But goddamn, is he the most famous for being horrible.
We're seeing dollar signs everywhere from the land, money, and power and heirs they could join by ditching Catholicism. We've also got to consider the millions of people across Europe who deeply believe that they, for pretty much the first time in history, were able to literally take their faith into their own hands by reading the Bible. That's huge.
Dude, you're getting too analytical.
What?
We need more memes.
Righto. Score at the end of round 2 is Catholic.
Wait. So Red actually got it. Is like, no. Bring up the memes. Not enough analysis. More memes. Sorry, too much analysis, not too little. I kind of like his analysis. It's funny, and I just want to see more of it. I wonder if they ever did a joint video where she just had memes on one side of the screen and him doing analysis on the other, and it just was that the entire time. That would be an amazing video and probably take forever and be completely unrealistic, but I would love it if there happens to be one. Let me know. I'm not above begging.
One corrupt church, Protestants. Oof. Yikes.
Yeah.
And that's the simplified graph.
Oh, so that's where Amish are split off from Mennonites? Really? I've never even heard of Anabaptist. Oh, that's because their line ended, so they actually did stop. Huh. Protestant Reformation, then Lutheran, Reformed, Anglican, Methodist, Episcopal. You know, I've actually heard all of these. Congregationalist is actually a new one, but I've heard Unitarian. Huh. I didn't actually... Amish have only been around since the 1600s? Almost the 1700s? For some reason, I thought that was a much older sect. Huh.
Anyway, it's been a hot minute. How about we sack Rome again? Yeah. For round 3 today, we have the Papal States pleasantly minding their own business, and coming down the peninsula to ruin their century are the Germans. Again.
Visigoths.
No.
Again.
Well, yes, but...
Oh yeah, I forgot that happened.
Jeez, Germany, tell us how you really feel. Anyway, after winning a battle with France, the armies of Charles V went rogue and marched into...
Red just came in to say we need more memes, and he put more memes in there.
Rome to sack the city. Now, the fun part of this is that Italy, France, and Germany were all ruled by Catholics, so this conflict makes zero sense because nonsense is the MO of European history.
I mean, honestly, it makes perfect sense. It's, I'm religious and I follow the Pope because the Pope says I am divinely appointed. So all y'all under me better listen because God has my back. I'm not even joking. That is actually the justification for entire segments of divine rule. And yeah, every person who said that was kind of horrible. It's why said horrible things later happened to them. Yeah.
In short,
history.
Rome remained a powerless
People
ghost town for
abusing
a
it.
century after the sack, only getting back on its feet for a full Baroque revival in the later 16 and 1700s. That makes the score...
40,000, 75% population killed or displaced in 1527. This is probably one of the few times where actually having the percentage is more helpful than the number, because human population's massively inflated right now. So it does show that one, this is a lot less people, but on the other hand, that is a lot higher percentage. How the hell did humanity survive?
One really big oof. But just because Rome got trashed doesn't mean that Catholicism was twiddling its thumbs for 2 centuries. The church overall realized that it needed a makeover, and at the Council of Trent from 1545 to 1563, they did 3 important things. They affirmed Catholic doctrine on the sources of divine authority and salvation, they reformed church practices to better educate the priests with seminaries and the Jesuit order, and they asserted the focus of Catholicism on personal spirituality. Now, putting aside differences in whether or not the bread and wine is really the body and blood of Christ, this looks strikingly familiar to the goals of Protestantism. Educate the faithful to deepen their connection with God. The means for this counter-reformation.
I mean, let's be completely fair. It's actually something very common in most movements. When the other side, who is taking away your power by having a good idea, the best way to diffuse that is by stealing said good idea and making it your own. One of the examples of this in more recent history is Social Security. There was a crazed radical who was like, we should get everyone money. He didn't win power because I'm pretty sure it was FDR at the time, and I could be mistaken about that, went in and said, you know what? I'm going to steal that idea and get rid of your power base by doing exactly the only thing that people like you for. And we got Social Security out of that in America, which was a huge popular thing because the elderly don't have to die in a ditch because their family can't afford to and it doesn't become a burden to their family. Wow. Also, that is literally the rationale put up there for it, which is admittedly kind of fucked up because that is a thing that would happen then and now. But yeah, that was the initial rationale for it. And it worked. That guy just kind of went away. It was Father something, and for some reason I can never remember his last name. It was his big idea, and it was diffused by doing that. Here, that diffusing didn't work nearly as well, but it also didn't completely rupture, so it worked well enough.
Reformation, however, were quintessentially Catholic. Since a lot of people couldn't read that well, the church doubled down on art. It was essentially religious propaganda, yes, but damn if it isn't some of the best art around. Paintings.
I mean, I'm going to criticize you for this one, Red. You say the best art around, but this guy's face, he was hit pretty hard. I know for the time period, even having slightly realistic faces was actually a completely surprising thing, considering almost cartoonish renditions were still popular. And getting to the point of photorealism was a goal that was reached, and honestly incredibly impressive in the level of detail and skill put into it. But at the same time, really? This is the one you're going for? Really? Face is very deformed. Ugh.
Around. Painting, sculpture, even architecture are dynamic, intense, and vivid. Another massive jump in quality and photorealism after the Renaissance. The most striking aspect to me is the way that weight and movement capture deep emotions. The painter Caravaggio and Bernini the sculptor are masters at this. I mean...
See, this is what I was thinking more of. This is freaking amazing. Sorry, I love sculpture in general, and the more crazy it is, the more I love it, which is also why I hate modern sculpture with a passion. It almost uniformly is meant to look stupid. So incredibly stupid that you're absolutely certain that a lot of it is just pretentious people giving pretentious reasons to pretentious idiots to spend way too much money on it to make themselves feel better. It's literally graft from people who are too dumb to realize they're being grafted from. I worked in an art museum. There was literally a painting made of elephant shit. And they had to refresh it frequently. If you want to know, it's Captain Shit, and I think it's the Black Stars. You can find it on Google. The balls you see on it are actually elephant shit. They had it on display without anything stopping people from touching it. Well, this disturbing analog that I completely wanted to forget aside, I'm just going to press play and try and forget I ever had this entire memory, which I am still trying to repress.
I like Baroque, okay? I know what I'm about. But big
not
picture,
bad.
it's neat how asymmetrical the conflict was. Protestant literary culture was revolutionary, and Catholics pulled out all the stops for art. Bringing a knife to a gunfight is a done deal, but bringing a book to a painting fight is a much more intriguing matchup. At the end of this round, it's books,
especially when you get comics out of it.
good, art, good. More culture is good. Everybody wins. Anyway, now let's talk about people losing really, really badly and also dying. Fun. Part of the problem with talking about the Reformation and counter-reformation is that I could be here literally all day dishing on 200 years of the history of all of Europe. That stuff is dense. So, speed round. Here's a quick list of some of the wars happening. Wow.
Charles v. the Protestant HRE. 7 wars in France. Netherlands revolt from... The Netherlands were controlled by Spain? Oh. Scottish Civil War. Ireland's rebellions. Blue, I think there's a problem there. You have this stopping at 1600. Shouldn't that be 1560 to it's still going on? I know what I said. England versus Spain, 30 Years' War. Britain versus Ireland. Also should still be going on there. Louis XIV versus Huguenots. Ooh, actually, I know that one. 1702, sorry, to 1711.
That sure is a lot of stabbing. I'm skipping all of it. What matters for our purposes is that in addition to territorial ambitions, nations now had ideological religious grounds for allying with or hating each other. Cool. Moving on. In 1555, the Peace of Augsburg granted individual states in the Holy Roman Empire the right to choose Catholicism or Protestantism. Granted, it was princes.
I drew a detailed map of the Holy Roman Empire exactly once. It was tortured, never again. There were that many individuals, you know, considering travel was a lot slower. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense that there would be a lot smaller, tiny territories of what people could carve out, but that is literally just city-states writ to an entire country.
Who made that choice rather than the subjects, but it's still better than nothing. However, things were not all fun and tolerance. France in 1572 was still Catholic, but a minority of Protestant Huguenots had grown to about 1 in 6 Frenchmen. Catholics tried to assassinate a prominent Huguenot in Paris, but whiffed it, so the monarchy finished the job. But then, on St. Bartholomew's Day, the Catholic mobs thought that they had royal consent to go nuts, so they slaughtered thousands of Huguenots. Real Christ-like, guys. Have fun in Circle 7. Next up is a war that started over religion and ended because...
Dante reference. Nice. don't even remember what 7 is. I'm pretty sure that's the Wrath, but I could be mistaken.
Is nobody likes the Habsburgs. They're spread all across Europe.
You know, there's a joke about Habsburgs being spread. But at the same time, it's a bit of an inside joke. Hopefully you didn't get it.
And they made drawing this map exceptionally annoying. I would tell the Habsburgs to go screw themselves, but they beat me to the punch. In 1618,
Yep, he went there. He accurately went there.
their dominions in Spain, Naples, and Austria got into a tiff with the Protestant parts of Germany as well as the Netherlands and Scandinavia, and this became the 30 Years' War. It started, settled down when the Catholic Habsburgs won a battle, and started back up again when Protestant Sweden jumped in for round 2, and Catholic France did a heckin' bamboozle by joining in against the Habsburgs, fearing their impending hegemony over Europe if they won.
More like Drabsburg, boom, roasted. Oh my god, that's so cheesy, oh god.
Catholic allegiances notwithstanding, the war ended with the Treaty of Westphalia, which allowed minority communities of Protestants and Catholics across Europe to practice their own worship at home without the threat of interference. This is where you can see people realizing, hey,
this engraving by Daniel, I'm not even going to try and say that, in the book Allah's Ben Mit Ansgar depicts Minerva casting the light of knowledge onto people of all faiths. See the difference in hat wear. Huh. During this time period, they made a callback to a Roman goddess, right? Now I've said Minerva, yeah, that would be the Roman version, rather than Athena for the Greek, onto essentially Catholics or various versions of Catholicism. Huh. I guess all faiths would be anyone under that general banner as well.
Hey, look, guys, we can all keep killing each other, or we can calm down and deal with this like adults. And it's no surprise that this culture of tolerance would very quickly produce the Enlightenment. And our final score for tonight's Pope fight is wars. Too many. I don't like it. Cool art. A lot, actually. That one turned out pretty good.
Yeah.
And finally, object lessons and how you can't stab your way out of a disagreement, and cultural triumphs like the Enlightenment are only possible when you recognize that the person on the other side of an argument is also a human being with thoughts and feelings.
He might put a 1 there because the Reformation, sorry, not Reformation, the Renaissance happened, but on the other hand, that lesson has since been lost, so I'm going to say it's a functional 0.
1! But that's a very important one. In conclusion, Martin Luther saw a church that needed reform badly. Beyond indulgences, people from all over church history saw deep issues with the way things operated and wanted to change it. It should be no surprise that Luther's theological whirlwind had an impact far outside of the Protestant world he inadvertently created. In the end, yeah, there may be a few too many denominations to keep track of, but Luther's primary goals were fulfilled. The Catholic Church reformed, and now nearly everybody who wants it, regardless of denomination, has direct access to the Bible. Self-reflection can be a difficult process, but confronting our failures makes us all better off.
Dude, the memes.
Right. Ta-da!
All your sins are gone, Catholic Church. Whoa, this is worthless. I mean, technically that's not a meme, that's just a straight up fact.
Martin Luther recognized the power of books, so he would be thrilled to know that nowadays you can listen to them from literally anywhere with today's sponsor, Audible.
And that was honestly kind of fun. It had a lot less of the actual head-to-head popes literally trying to stab each other like before, and more just changes in the religion, how it shaped the time period in general between Martin Luther and everything he started, which admittedly is really cool. Sorry, I like history lessons like this. Blue is doing a really good job of, I just realized exactly why people said I would love this, and they were completely right. He's doing a good job of showing history in an interesting way that's incredibly analytical, and I kind of am fascinated by, you have no idea how hard it is not to just binge watch all of these right now and not record it because I just want to watch these. How have I gone literally over a decade and not watched these? These are freaking amazing. I know this one specifically only came out 4 years ago, but I meant anything on the channel because if Blue is like this in all his videos, I thought Red was amazing because all the memes and the art, and I love her stuff, but goddamn Blue stuff with the analytics, it's just... Sorry, I'm having a massive geek out right now, and I stand by that. As opposed to normal, where I stand beside my geek out for when it backfires, it still swings around and hits me in the face somehow. I don't know how that happens. It's weird. It's just a thing. I can't help it. More importantly, though, me geeking out aside, there's a link below to the original video. Hit it up. Once I finish all the Pope fights, because apparently there's only a handful, I'm just going to go into all the history hijinks, or maybe I'll just check something else out. I don't know, because I just want to see more, man. Oh. Yeah, I'm having fun right now. So I'll see you guys in the next one. Hits up the link, and yeah, subscribe if you like this, leave a like, and comment if you know where I should go next, because I am spoiled for choice, so I actually don't know which one to go, because decision paralysis is a bitch. Yeah, I'll see you guys then. Adios.